We're gonna get to the bottom of this so that we can be certain that the department continues to enjoy the trust that it currently has, but most importantly, that residents know that we've left no one stone unturned in ensuring that propaganda, dehumanizing language and ideas are not pervasive within the department.
Do you think that these revelations about former Officer Bringleson cast a doubt on the accusations he made against the former chief here, Ryan Lee?
I'm looking right now at what's happening within the department. We're gonna learn all that we can, determine the next steps of action that we have to take.
Do you have any idea, any indications that there are others within the department right now who have the same ideologies as Bringleson?
An independent investigation is so important to tell us these things. As I said to the union just now, it's imperative that we get to the bottom of this, that we determine whether or not, or if this is more pervasive than one individual, and then we take steps accordingly. Because at the end of the day, our residents have to feel safe. Our city is safe. I want our residents to continue to feel safe and to trust this department. And these men and women in the Boise Police Department have sworn an oath to protect and serve. I expect the majority of them are doing that. But to be able to say to the community that we continue to live and work by the ideals that we espouse, that we will continue to protect and serve them fairly, we have to know what's happening within this department.
This member of the management team at BPD was on camera in a television news story about 3 months ago about Ryan Lee, very publicly speaking out against him. He was the only on-camera source in that story. Did you know of any of this when he went on the record to speak out about the former chief?
I learned of this news and was as shocked and appalled as I expect most of Boiseans were on Saturday evening. And this officer was an officer in the department for 20 years. That's appalling. Management or not, this man served in the police department for 20 years, and we have to look at the steps that were taken in that time and ensure that people were treated fairly and that this isn't happening again.
Well, you're not necessarily a legal expert. Do you think that these revelations, again, could affect prior convictions where Bringleson testified?
That with an independent investigator looking into the department, we will be able to answer those questions, and that's why having an independent investigation is so important.
Are you, once you have the independent investigator, do you plan to announce who they are and further action?
We will let the community know next steps. We're working on them now, and we'll be briefing the community.
And are you able to say if former Captain Bringleson is receiving a pension and if that's something that could come into question?
I think that that's a personnel issue that I'd rather not respond to right now.
The city's been engaged in a fairly...
Because I'm not an attorney.
The city's been engaged in a fairly high-profile back and forth with BPD over the last several months, including Captain Bringleson and others speaking out. There have been several lawsuits. Now we have these revelations, and you've had to respond. How are your relations with the department as a whole when there's clearly some challenges between the two different groups?
Now, there are a lot of challenges in any department, in any workforce. And I deeply appreciate the work that the men and women of Boise Police Department do. We spent a lot of time in the last 2 months listening to them, understanding how it is that we can care for them as they care for our community. But with that care comes the expectation that the men and women of Boise Police Department are showing up every day in good faith, following their oaths. I believe the majority of them are. And I believe in the conversations that we've had that we are taking the right steps to support them and invest in this department to protect our community. With this new news, we have to ensure that the steps that we're taking we have to ensure that the steps that we're taking to both support them and keep the community safe are done in full knowledge of what's happening in this department, and now it's time to take another step with an investigation.
Probably the last one. On social media elsewhere, there were some residents of Boise who heard this news, these revelations, said, well, of course. I'm sure that was probably very disappointing to you, knowing you. What can you say to them, but really everybody who lives in Boise, who maybe feel less safe this morning than they did?
This city, the people of the city of Boise that work to both protect and serve the community in the police department and every other department in this city are committed to ensuring that everyone feels welcome, that this is truly a city for everyone. And yes, I am sure that there are people that feel less safe today, that have concerns, that are asking questions and are doubtful about interactions they've had. I can say that that is why we are taking these steps with an investigation, because 20 years is too long to have had someone serving in this department with these ideas. And we have to make sure that those on the front lines protecting and serving this community are doing so with the best of intentions. And we're gonna get to the bottom of this so that we can ensure the community that we know that we are. And when we will have more information soon on the investigation, and depending on what we learn, we'll take the steps that we must to continue to provide the level of service and level of safety, trust, and community connection that this department always has and always will be expected to provide.
What steps are you willing to take? I mean, are there outcomes that could be broader? Obviously, this person's already retired.
I'm gonna look, the investigation will look both at the actions and whether or not they were taken while on city time and resources, but look deeply into the department to determine the extent to whether or not this was isolated or it goes further. And then, depending on what we learn, I'll make the decisions and take the steps that I will need to take to ensure and to be able to say to the community, we are a department and a city that provides welcoming and fair service to everyone.